We are back. Hello, everybody. My name is Julius, and I'm on a podcast that you are probably ignoring right now. I'm doing the NPR voice because why not? It's the third episode. I can do whatever the hell I want. It's indicative of a pattern. And I'm joined by a very special guest, someone different than the last 2 weeks of guests. It's actually a female. How are you, the female, on the Ignore This podcast?
Hi, this is Ira Glass on NPR. Just kidding. My name is Ufwe Konan.
Oh my gosh. Well, Ufwe, we haven't talked on mics together in a couple years, actually. Yeah. How have you been?
It's been a while.
How have you been?
Well, I would scream, but I feel like that would hurt everybody's eardrums, and I have a really high register, so I'm not going to do that to you, but that's about where I am at.
Well, if you have any notion of screaming as the podcast, continues on, just do me a favor and do it away from the mic. Just look another way, look another direction.
I feel like the best case scenario is if I just walk into the other room and you'll still be able to hear me because I'm fucking loud.
At the normal level that we are right now.
Yes.
At that same level.
Yes.
What was the last podcast we did? Do you remember?
I think the last one we did, it was either Harley Quinn or Wonder Woman. And it's very easy for me to remember this because you always have me on for DC shit when you know I'm a Marvel girl. So
I know, you got excited. Well, surprisingly enough, I remember before the channel got, busted.
Yeah, that's rough.
I would listen to those discussions, and they're still on Spotify, by the way. Thankfully enough. Even though you are a Marvel fan, more so than DC, and we can talk a little bit about that later. I remember those discussions being very engaging, crazily enough, even though you're not really a DC fan.
I just know random shit.
Uh-huh.
My brain is a steel trap that I cannot control. I don't need to know a random song I heard on NPR at 3 o'clock in the morning when I was 16, but I do remember.
But you know it.
Yeah.
Like what song specifically?
Shucking the corn so the corn can grow. It's the weirdest fucking song. And it used to play so much during that time period at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't fucking sleep. So, of course, that's permanently in my brain.
How does that song go? Shucking the corn and
shucking the corn so the corn can grow. You're making me sing it again because you are getting a kick out of this, not because you don't fucking remember. You tricked me.
It is for the integrity of the podcast.
Yes, they need to have that song stuck in their head too. You're welcome, listeners.
All three of you.
All three of you who are actively ignoring and listening to this podcast.
Yeah. What do you think of that title, Ignore This Podcast?
I think that the contrarian in me will 100% listen, and I'm pretty sure there's other people who are like me who just want to say fuck you, no. So, I feel like you probably get your target demographic there with the title.
Well, it's very much a millennial title, very much so.
You know what it reminds me of?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Notebook where it's like destroy this book?
No.
So
there's a notebook saying
yeah. So there's this it's like a journaling thing, and it's supposed to be like an exercise in impermanence. And you go through the different pages and you destroy it in different ways. Like you crumple up the page, you write something on the page and crumple it up, you burn a page, you just do a bunch of fucked up shit to this book.
And it instructs you on each page of how to destroy?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I gotta get this book.
I feel like you would enjoy that. It seems like in your niche.
Yeah, really. It reminds me of that Family Guy episode where Brian wrote a book that actually was a bestseller, which is crazy because he's a pretentious writer and everything. But he wrote a book called Wish It, Want It, Do It. And the first 50 pages were blank because he was like, well, you have to fill out the pages. You have to do the work.
Oh my God.
And that way, and then the real advice begins from there. It kind of reminds me of that, but it sounds a bit more fun.
Yeah. You remember how I said that thing about steel trap?
Yeah.
100% didn't need that information. Thanks, Julius. Never gonna forget that now.
Well, I mean, you didn't watch the episode, right?
Yeah, and I hope to God I never do.
Oh, man. So you said that because we haven't really hung out as frequently as we used to. You know, we would hang out because where we live.
Yeah,
right?
we used to like hang out like at least like once a week because we both went to
PCC.
I was gonna say school redacted, but okay, cool.
Well, that could stand for anything.
Yes, there are 2 PCCs.
Well, damn it! You just narrowed it. I was gonna say Pine Cones Corporate Conglomerate.
Yeah. Okay.
But
anyway, my bad. My bad. But we lived in the same town, went to the same school.
Yeah.
And so we, used to hang out a lot more. But lately, I just bounce all around this state, redacted. And, yeah, so that's why we haven't hung out as much.
Yeah, but we just recently got back into the swing of it.
Yeah.
We hung out a couple weeks ago, I think it was.
Yeah.
For the first time in a while.
Yes.
And it felt just like yesterday that we had, we stopped hanging out. You know what I mean? Like we can kind of pick up from where we left off.
Yeah.
And just get into the bullshit that we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty much nonsense, as you can tell from so far.
Yeah, just the past few minutes you can tell.
Right.
Bye-bye. We've been friends for entirely too long.
Damn it, I was going to say that first. You son of a bitch. Too long.
Sorry, you gotta be quicker on the draw. It's not my fault you can't keep up.
Stay on target. Stay on target. Oh, man. Well, there's one thing I really wanted to talk to you about on the mics that we have talked about before, but that podcast is no longer around.
Yes.
You
lost to the annals of time.
Yeah, lost to the annals of time. We aren't able to reach it again. It is extinct, like the previous animals on the planet.
It's dead like a ghost.
Uh-oh. That's a little tease for you. So, Ufwe is the only person I know so far
that you know of.
Right. People who have revealed this information to me is only one, and it is Ufwe, who is the subject of an exorcism. Mm-hmm. Now, this feels like it should probably be a Halloween podcast.
Yeah.
But, oh well.
Halloween in August.
And I'm already doing a Halloween podcast with another friend, so, we might as well get our stuff taken care of now.
Sorry.
But I'm doing this with you before that.
Mm-hmm.
You're the 3rd chapter.
Okay, cool.
You were the subject of an exorcism.
Yeah.
And what age were you put in this situation? Do you remember?
I was 13.
Wow.
Yeah. Usually when I talk about this, I just make a very short, glib joke, and I say I had an exorcism. When inevitably somebody will make a joke about me being kind of like a demon, because sometimes I'll go like blah, blah, all that stuff. Anyway. So, and it's especially jarring because I have the voice of a preschooler, and then I go,
really deep down. Yeah.
Growl.
Insane.
Yeah. So, usually I make a joke glibly and say, like, yeah, I had an exorcism, it didn't work, so... Sucks, but stuck with this version.
Well, before we actually get into the meat of the story, I just want to set up one thing. One thing's already been set up, that we've known each other for a very long time.
Yes.
And I knew you around this time, obviously.
Yes.
But I didn't. I've only heard about this, fairly recently. A couple years ago, I heard that you were, in this, and it had been so long since it happened that I found this out.
Yeah. Okay. So I grew up super religious in our family. You probably kind of remember some of that.
Sure. Yeah.
Like we went to church every Sunday. The church that my grandparents like to take us to in ass butt fuck nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Was like right on the border of two gang territories, like smacked up, and they chose that place intentionally. And so there was just like a lot of weird random shit that was going on in this church, and like we had to go there, and like I didn't unlearn some of the religious shit until I was like 16. I just didn't have very much personal identity outside of like the church and stuff and what my family like identified as. And then once I started to turn 16, 17, I started gaining some of my own personal identity. So that's probably why you didn't hear about it, because I just didn't even think about it too much.
Of this kind of like bubble you were in.
Yeah, I did not realize how fucking weird it was, some of the shit I went to growing up.
How many people did you know at this time and actually interact with that were outside of that bubble?
Like when I was like 13.
Yeah.
Like I had like a couple friends from school, but I didn't really hang out for all of high school. I didn't really hang out with my friends outside of school that much, except for maybe you. Yeah. Because our moms are friends.
We've known each other since we were very young.
Since we were babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I would like hang out with like you, and then I think 13 I was still at School Redacted.
No, that's a whole other podcast. Oh my God.
That school was crazy. We both went to this school, and it was crazy as fuck. Kids were masturbating in the open. Kids were flipping pianos. It was a problem.
And they weren't actually possessed by any sort of demons.
No. Yeah. They didn't get an exorcism, but me.
But you did.
I got an exorcism.
On their behalf.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So anyway, didn't identify as agnostic until I was like 16. So didn't think about much of the weird religious shit until I was 16. Like, part of like the Christian tradition with like African American peoples is like there's like this moment of getting the spirit and like coming to Jesus moment, and like a lot of really bizarre things are considered normal. Like, once every service, a black woman who had already given herself to Christ would go up to the front of the church and faint. And it was encouraged. Yes.
Okay.
And just be like on the floor out, and it would be normal. It was just called getting the spirit. And like you were encouraged to go promise yourself to Christ and recommit yourself to Christ like all the time, and it would always
I was gonna ask,
the same church.
I was gonna ask if these moments you mentioned of like finding the spirit were exclusively found while you were at church, or were they sometimes outside?
So like no, because it wasn't just church at church. So because of like the way, like I don't think I've talked about this, but all of my great aunts and uncles are ordained ministers.
Okay, so you got to live with that.
Yeah. So every morning I would wake up to my grandpa praying really fucking loudly at 6:00 in the morning. And like just naming every one of my extended cousins and praying for them individually, which on one hand is kind of sweet and comforting because it's like, yeah, he thinks about you. On the other hand, it's 6:00. Come on. You know?
Well, you have a big family also, so that's really intense.
Yeah, he'd be praying for like 2 or 3 hours to give you
the whole list of people.
Yes, to give you an idea of how big my family is. That's the small side of my family. So, there's like, we would do prayer circles at home too. It's just you pray at every meal. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
And when I was 13, I always have like weird sleeping habits, but I developed a really fucking annoying one, and that's the only reason why they decided to do something about it. And for some reason, the thing they decided to do about it was give me an exorcism.
Okay, so we're getting into the meat of
the story. Yeah. I was singing in my sleep.
Were you singing the corn song?
No.
Okay. All right. What were you
hadn't
singing?
Heard this corn song yet.
Do you remember?
I think I remember the one I remember is I remember singing Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, Jesus.
Another time, like, you know, the Phantom of the Opera is there.
Where's the cross? Where's the cross? Get someone.
Oh my god. Okay.
No one there.
Okay. Another one I did, and this is how you know I was dreaming. I sung the Pledge of Allegiance. I made up a song for the Pledge of Allegiance in my sleep and sung it before my grandpa had even woken up to pray, apparently. And it was so loud that, like, you know, my grandparents' big ass house,
right?
Fancy, yeah. They're bougie black. So my cousin was in the opposite side of the house, and he heard me singing.
Mm-hmm.
So a menace. Yeah. But like, it's not like I could control it. And if I got woken up while I was doing it and I fell back asleep and I had another dream about singing, I would sing again. Mm-hmm. So like, this was happening multiple times a night. And
jeez. What do you think prompted it? Were you ever convinced that this was what they thought it was?
No, I knew it wasn't, but it was because like my grandma that summer had been like really pushing me to practice a song for like some like church thing. And every one of my cousins hate this song because she would make me sing it over and over and over and over again. And now that song is ruined for everybody in my family because they fucking... It's Brave by Sarah Bareilles. I used to sing that so much to the point I just heard it once on the radio and my grandma kept on rejecting all of the songs I wanted to sing, like Hallelujah or, you know.
The Leonard Cohen?
Yeah, Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. And like, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll sing this. And she was like, oh, it's so perfect. And I was like, I don't even really like this
Punching
song.
the radio.
I was saying it as a joke. And she was like, yes, this is perfect. And she loves it when I sing it. It's not even that bad of a song, but it's really fucking annoying when you have to sing it 10 times in an hour.
Yeah. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say about your family, I love your family, yes. But it is like a Shakespearean almost in terms of how entangled people are and how the drama that escalates from it.
There's insane. There's way too much going on. I'm so tired. But yeah, so that happened and my grandparents were like, okay, we can't fucking sleep, so you're getting an exorcism.
We're going there. And like, they didn't
really tell me that I was getting an exorcism. I just went to church and then my grandma pulled me into a back room in the church with 3 other old black women. And they started, like, praying over me and stuff. And were saying, I beseech the devil. Blah, blah, blah,
were they dressed up?
They were dressed up like it was church.
Right.
You know, it wasn't, like, a fancy uniform or anything. But, like, these, like, 4 black women circled around me. And then, you know, the moment where I was like, oh, all those times. I feel like I'm not going to knock anybody else's faith.
Sure, right.
But for me, it didn't seem... I realized some of it must not be 100% genuine, those feigning spells and stuff, where people are, like, getting hands prayed on.
No, yeah.
Because they were, like, pushing my head back. And I was just like...
Stop it.
What are you doing?
Stop it.
Like, they kept on, like, going like this. And I was just like... Is this supposed to be doing something? Because I'm pretty sure this is just like a weird neurological thing.
No, that demon's just stuck in there. That's what the force helps get it out. Yeah, the demon just was really stuck in there and they just couldn't get it out because the next night I sung in my sleep. They just kind of gave up after that. Their family wrote a bad Yelp review for that church.
Just like, they still go to that church. So, you know.
Really? That didn't shake anything for them?
No, because my cousin runs it.
Yeah, but still, I mean, like, if I had a cousin who made a hardware store. He had a hardware store, and I kept on buying ladders that whenever I take a step on the first step, and I break it and fall down with each ladder.
Oh yeah. So see, this is the thing. The person in that scenario who was at fault was me because I didn't have enough faith. So that's where the difference is that, you know, if a church doesn't work for you, it's because you don't have good faith and you didn't want it to work secretly, even if you went to get help for it. That's how it works.
Well, I'll just go to a hardware store.
Maybe it's time to go to another hardware store. Yeah.
Ace's hardware store.
If I go into some of the details of that church, my family gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
Because there's some fucked up shit that happened at that
we
church.
can save that for the actual Halloween podcast.
Ooh, yeah.
My thing about this is one thing I really want to know regarding the whole exorcism is how were you ever exposed to the idea of exorcisms before this happened? Or did you know anything about it?
I was vaguely aware of exorcisms, but here's the thing.
Right.
In strictly speaking senses, in the section of the church that I'm a part of, exorcisms aren't as my family's a part of. Exorcisms aren't as big of a thing.
They're not as common?
No. They will pray over people and stuff, but it's not really an exorcism. And you're thinking of The Exorcist, right, and all the rites. It's nowhere near as nobody is
dramatic
as
that.
It's not dramatic, it's not as ritualistic as anything with the Catholic Church. And if you want to go into the Catholic Church, I can go on that too, because I went to Catholic school. Woo woo.
School redacted here.
School redacted here. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was doing some research before we met regarding exorcisms, and
when you were 4?
When I was 4.
Before we met?
No. Before today.
I'm making a joke. I'm making a joke.
No, I think you're possessed. Here, there you go. There you go, right there.
Ow.
Take it back, huh? Take it back.
Yeah, just had some more flashbacks there. Thanks for that. Did help with my headache for some reason, though. Thanks.
You're welcome. But no, I was watching.
The demon is fighting for control.
There's a little tiny hammer inside your head, and he's knocking.
Don't let it take over.
Do it again. It was too loud for the levels.
Don't let it take over.
I'm scared.
You're welcome.
I'm genuinely scared.
Yeah.
But no, before we met today, I was doing some research in terms of some articles, some videos and stuff. And some of these guys on YouTube, oh my god, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. some of what I've seen. There was this one video I saw. It was an Italian preacher, and it was the video is called something like what's it called? It's called My Time as a Exorcist or something like that.
Oh yeah, because
have
there's
you seen this one?
I haven't seen it, but because even though it's a thing that happened to me, I don't really think about that.
You're not obsessed with it.
I just make jokes about it because it's really funny to watch people's face when I say that string of words. It gives me so much joy every time. But from what I understand, there's an entire small sect of the Catholic Church that's devoted to verifying miracles, understanding miracles, and performing exorcisms and seeing if it's a real exorcism. And a part of it is some sections of the world don't acknowledge mental illness. And that's a part of it. Should we be treating this person for mental illness, or should we be giving this person an exorcism? And not gonna go any more into it from there.
Well, I feel an exorcism, if we're gonna go in that direction, it should be the last resort.
Yeah.
If it's at all an option, which I don't think it should, unless shit's floating. You know what I mean? Let's do it then. But I don't. Even then, I'm just what is? There's got to be an actual explanation.
There's a lot of reasons why people end up getting exorcisms or getting a lot of times demons are just really like used to villainize people who portray in a way that's considered other.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's the truth.
Well, this guy, this Italian dude, he has this video and everything, and it's very, I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. And he's there and he's saying, like, it's almost a meme of a video, the way this guy presents himself being an exorcist, saying, oh yes, I am an exorcist, and demons are losers. Demons are losers who need to be demonized and exorcised and everything. And he comes up to this older woman who's acting her heart out. You know, she's really going for the Oscar in it. And she says, you know, yeah, I've been exorcised a couple times. It hasn't worked. You know, I've been possessed multiple times beforehand. I've had moments where I've floated and all that stuff. And then just the way the video is edited, the way that this guy is yelling, it's like the stereotype of an Italian person versus a demon. It's ridiculous. Wow. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that sounds bad. Yeah.
Get out of there, you silly demon. Like, honestly, it's like that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my God. You know, like, I feel like it's just, it's a little silly. Because, like, so, this is from my personal perspective. Need to preface this with a disclaimer. I feel like Christianity takes a lot of accountability for your own actions off of you. The way that it is handled and talked about, and the way that modern Christianity preaches is that, you know, if you confess your sins, then wham bam, thank you ma'am, Jesus, you know, takes on your sins.
Yeah, weight off your shoulders.
Yeah,
like
so
that, right.
You don't have to feel guilt about anything that you've done in the past, which, you know, for me, I feel like you need to take some accountability for your actions. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm saved now. Because so many people use that excuse of being saved and being innately born a sinner to just do shitty stuff and then say, well, I confess my sins to Jesus, so it's fine.
Right.
You know? And I feel like with demons and stuff like that, it's like two books. Either the person is outside of the norm and their family is imposing that exorcism, or they themselves feel like they don't fit into this box, or they have done something that they aren't proud of and they need to put accountability for their actions onto something else. Because it can't be that I did something bad and I made a bad decision. It has to be that something made me make this bad decision outside of myself. And I feel like that's...
Well, people since the beginning have used it as a scapegoat when things go drastically wrong. Yeah. You know what I mean? But on the other side, people use it as the basis for when things go really well, go right. And I don't want to question anyone's faith or anything.
That's not where I'm coming from.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I know that. That's why it always, when it comes to religion, it always becomes such a heated topic. You know, I don't know. I think when it comes to your situation of the whole exorcism, I think other alternatives could have easily been looked at.
Maybe a sleep study first.
Some NyQuil or something.
Something there were steps we could have taken before we went there.
Full on exorcism.
Yeah. It was, but like the thing is, you know, I feel like my generation confuses my grandparents. Like they don't quite understand where we're coming from on a lot of things. And I, growing up, was like the one who was always by them and stuff, and like always around them basically all the time. Right. So, like, when it came a point where I was starting to notice some of the things that were going on in my family that personally, I didn't feel like, at the time, it was coming from a perspective of treat others how you want to be treated, loving your brother like yourself, that Christian outlook. When I saw how Christianity was, ooh, that is a really big caterpillar.
Where?
Right there. You see the little guy?
Oh, wow. There's a caterpillar outside. It's a sign.
Yes, it's a good sign. It's a sign of growth.
Of evolution.
Yes. But what I was saying is, I felt like it was like my responsibility to bridge that gap, because I felt like they were closer to me. And I think to them, me like pushing against them and like saying, hey, maybe we should do things differently, it was like a real shock to their system, and they just didn't know what was going on. And I think that's maybe why they jumped to exorcism first, because it wasn't just that, because like I was like, hey, maybe don't be homophobic,
right? Because
I'm not gonna tell you this, but like almost all your grandchildren are gay. Listen, you keep on doing this, it's gonna be a problem. And I didn't like out any of my cousins. I tried really hard not to out any of my cousins, but I was like, you guys can't keep doing this. This is a problem.
Yeah.
Like, my first boyfriend was trans, and so I didn't even introduce him to the family because ever.
Oh, wow.
They don't know I've dated anyone, because both of my partners ended up being trans.
Oh, Jesus.
And so I was just like,
I did this to myself.
Yeah. It's because, like, if you care about a person, you're not going to take them to a place where they're going to get dead named or get a bunch of, like, transphobic statements hurled at them.
Sure, yeah.
And, like, that's kind of how they are sometimes, and it's upsetting.
Well, I mean, a lot of the times when it comes to new ideas for people stuck in dogmatic ideologies, new ideas come off as a threat to what they have been used to, and a lot of the time it's not. It's just a different person. Too many people think that other people are just like them.
Yeah, it's like xenophobia in a different sense. But, to their credit, they're, like, a lot better about the gay stuff. We're still working on the trans stuff, and it's, like, a problem. Because one of my cousin's partner is trans, and they're, like...
Have they met that person?
They have, in very passing. Like, my cousin is very strict about not letting... Because this person isn't clockable. Clockable? So, like... Your first thought when you see this person is not this person is trans. Right. So, like, when they had him over, it was just real quick. It was just like they were coming to pick me up, and then they left. So, to me, it's just like, it's kind of a hard situation. And at this point, they're really old. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that they're doing, like, relatively better with the whole gay consideration, right?
Yeah,
Do you see a timetable of them becoming better with the trans stuff? Or is it just too late, do you think?
It took me not talking to my grandmother for 4 months for her to start to change. And that was when... I was around the same time, 14, 13. And the change I've only just now seen, where my grandma was like, oh, I was just trying to protect you, but, I guess that's the reason why God gave me all these queer grandbabies. She didn't say it like that. Right. But
it's the general idea.
That's the general idea. And I was just like, you got to realize by trying to protect us from that, you were that person, Yeah. And, like, that's, like, a thing that I have had this conversation with her about on like a lot of different topics where it's like, you say that it's like a protection thing, but doesn't really feel like one.
Mm-hmm.
But that's life.
Well, I feel like each generation after the previous becomes more, and I don't have a better word to describe it other than woke, essentially. Each, or I guess they ease up, in terms of the conservative nature of the previous generation. So I always wonder how it's going to affect our generation when we get older.
It does actually kind of depend. So like, a lot of people do use that. But part of it is just what we as a society and culture will accept is
right.
That's like the biggest that's the biggest thing, the inhibitor when it comes like if a good way to measure how well we're doing as a society and how accepted certain things are in a society is looking at the law books. Because when gay marriage became legal, you started to see more people having a less hard stance on gay people because they weren't in hiding, they weren't isolated to their communities, and it wasn't, you started seeing it. What I'm a really big believer of is that part of the conservatism relies on isolation. And so when you as a society can isolate certain groups of people from each other, it's easier to say that somebody who is not part of my group isn't as human as me. They don't have the same needs as me. I don't understand why they would want this. Because a lot of people are like, well, they can have a partnership, back when this law was being voted into effect.
Yeah. Or I remember the term, why do you need to get married when you could just have a civil union, as it were?
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous. I remember specifically a writer and I'm going to bring a little bit of nerd element into this, where it was a comic book writer. I forgot his name. He was writing Spider-Man at the time. Or he was involved in the Spider-Man book at the time. And he brought up the One More Day, I think it was called. It was the infamous storyline where Spider-Man made a deal with the devil to save his aunt's life. So he gave up his marriage with Mary Jane. And it's the partial basis on the previous No Way Home film. But it was a storyline that got a lot of hate, because at that point they had been married for a while. People knew him as a married guy and people loved that. And the fact that he made a deal with the devil was ridiculous. People hated it. And the one of the writers, or someone, I forgot his name. Someone, if you know his name, please let me know. But he came out and said,
get in those comments, folks.
Which I totally read. He came out and said,
if he doesn't read it, I will, and I will chastise him for not reading it. Continue.
Thank you, Ufwe. He came out and said a lot of people are confused. People, he's just bullshitting. He's saying people are mad that the marriage is annulled, but it was really a civil union that whole time. And if you have a problem with it, you are for gay marriage. Like he was using this in a he literally like that type of logic. He was saying, if you have a problem with Spider-Man being divorced because of the devil, you're pro gay marriage. You should stick with it being a civil union. I mean, it's a bit unrelated, but still, it shows the ridiculous dogmas
people have. Fucking ridiculous. But what I was gonna say is like the issue with the queer marriage is like part of it was, a lot of with those civil unions, they weren't allowed to do things like inherit the wealth of their partner, or like especially during the AIDS epidemic, which was a really big problem. They couldn't be by their partner's side because they were not married.
Yeah.
While they're like going through the process of passing on,
or
when they're really seriously ill, you can't. The law wasn't as the laws didn't grant those rights to people who are in like civil partnerships and stuff.
Yeah, and the lack of protection because of said laws is part of what made that a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't want to pretend to know everything about the AIDS epidemic, but I do know that the constriction of civil rights is what led to people dying in that way.
Because the thing is, sorry, I'm going to do a little public health announcements on your podcast. Much like the monkeypox, you know, viruses don't give a flying fuck who you fuck. So, don't think that just because you don't bump uglies with another person of the same gender that you're safe from a virus, because, you know, most people in the world who have HIV are straight.
Well, just look at Eazy-E. There you go.
Yeah, it's really bad in like the black community too. But it's like because people use
Jesus
protection. If you get nothing else from this entire podcast, use fucking protection, even if you're just doing oral. Yes, literally.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Even if you're doing oral, dental dams exist for a reason.
God damn it, wear a retainer when you do that shit. Jesus Christ.
Honey. Honey.
Yeah, maybe I'm in weird shit. Never. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Back to your exorcism. Back to your exorcism.
Just learned something I did not want to know. Oh, I just blew out your microphone.
It's okay.
My
it's
bad.
Okay.
I like
it's
once again, like I said, I'm fucking loud.
That's good. Steel trap. But the thing is, what you brought up, the whole the way the conservative nature exists is through isolation.
Yeah.
It's what enacts like exorcisms in the modern day, hate groups. I mean, the Klan is nothing but that. You know, all this extra shit. I don't want to get incredibly political because I'm not a political analyst, unlike some other people I might know. People who would be better served under this topic. But all I can say is
for all you guys who didn't see, he was pointing at me.
I was leading to you. Help me out here.
Help!
Save me. All I know is that, you know, for any type of dogma thinking, it only relies on people being alone and not really getting to know the quote-unquote enemy or the other side or whatever.
Yeah, and like the thing about it is, real shit, it's a problem on the left too.
Oh yeah, it's a problem everywhere.
Yeah,
it's a problem
so
everywhere.
like I remember I'm like a artsy fartsy type, and I did interaction design. And for this class, my idea was to like build this app where the entire premise is creating connection between people who are from different groups and different walks of life. And
could that be political, social, economical?
Yeah, so
everything?
basically what the concept was you fill out a survey because people fucking love surveys. They love a personality quiz. So,
oh my god.
So my idea was to have them fill out this survey personality quiz, and that's like your entry point, and then it also has a function where it's like you match with somebody. Excuse me.
You match with
this
somebody.
This is a sort of hidden algorithm thing.
Okay.
So the concept was you would match with somebody who is completely different from you or very different from you in all regards except for one. So whatever one hobby, one political thing, one whatever. So you would be completely different except for one section, and that was how you would be matched, and that was the algorithm behind it, was the idea that you're matching with people who are very different from you.
That's interesting.
Yeah. The reason why I haven't like really gone forward with that idea is because like making it a safe platform is a logistical nightmare. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was working on it with my partners, and I was like, the only core of the concept is that you're like, the thing that makes it different from all these other platforms is that you're talking to people who are different from you. Mm-hmm. Whereas every other platform, confirmation bias, matches you with people who are like you.
Well, is the idea when you talk like with this person you almost completely disagree with, the ideal is that you talk on the platform and you start from places you agree on.
Yeah, so for the user, how they would be introduced would be, you both like this.
Mm-hmm.
What you have in common. And then there'll be prompts. You can choose from prompts, questions to, further push the conversation along. And then after like a certain time frame, you reveal some of the things that you're different,
Yeah.
And then you can have that sparks a conversation. Like, I really wanted to come up with a concept of a way for people from different generations, because I am a baby, but I grew up sitting on my 199-year-old great-grandmother and with my 60-year-old grandmother at the time, and just talking with them and spending a lot of time with them. So for me, I kind of wanted a way for people outside of, like, family groups, where that type of interaction is constant if you have a big family.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not everybody has a big family.
No. She just pointed at me.
Yes.
You're leading to me.
Yes, I'm leading to you.
I appreciate. Thank you.
Yes,
Shout
I'm
out.
acknowledging the fact that your family does not know how to have progeny. Your family is very selective in how many kids they have, unlike mine, where I have 100+ first cousins on one side of my family.
One side of the equator.
See, I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
well, do you think you'll ever find out actually how many actual blood relatives you have?
Absolutely fucking not. I have 14 aunts.
Okay. Let's hold on
uncles.
that. I want to continue on this thing, and then we can talk about that. But when it comes to meeting and talking to people you almost completely disagree with,
yeah,
I have a couple friends like that where we disagree on a lot, whether it be politics or something as juvenile as Star Wars or the nerdy stuff. There's the nerdy stuff and then the real life stuff.
I'm so sorry. I cannot stand Star Wars. And that's an example.
It's an example. But a lot of fuck you. A lot of the time, those are the friendships that you come to cherish more often, especially when you hear it's promoted in this country, at least, that everything is as divided as it is. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a miracle to maintain those kinds of friendships where you can just be like, yeah, but who cares? Like you and I disagree, but who really cares? Now when it comes to real important stuff, we have to talk about it.
Yeah. And
if we do disagree with each other on those subjects, we have to navigate certain elements of our friendship, I think. But still, I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to hurt a friend because I've had those moments where I've distanced myself from people I've disagreed with in that regard, and those moments were mistakes. You know what I mean? You don't want to ostracize people or yourself because of things that are kind of shallow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I think the idea of that app is good. But I'm curious about the logistics. You said it was a nightmare.
So like, we were trying to figure out a way to like handle trolls, and my idea was what a lot of games actually do, troll boxing. So you have a server,
right.
The main server has everybody, and as soon as somebody files a complaint, then they get into the troll box, and the troll box
with the other trolls.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just a bunch of trolls going against each other, and everybody who knows how to have a good conversation can stay there, and then all the trolls, if you get 3 strikes, and then you go to the troll box. Because sometimes if you're disagreeing with people, there's going to be somebody who's like, no, and this person is a bad person, but it's not because the conversation, it's because that person had a negative reaction to somebody who was different from them. So the 3 strikes rule was a way to kind of get around that, where it's like there's gonna be not everybody who gets a strike belongs in the troll box.
Right.
But 3 strikes and you go into the troll box.
What are some... Do you know any examples of games that use the troll box? Because I know that something like Call of Duty doesn't.
I know that there's like... I can't remember what... I remember like watching this video about like product design and stuff and gaming design. And it was like for certain groups, if you got too many demerits... Or, now I remember. It wasn't for speech. It was for gaming behavior. So people who were doing, like, unfair playing practices and stuff.
Oh, like camping or something?
Yeah, so, like, things that were, like, unfair or just, like, quitting and wasn't really fun, they would get sent to their little camp, and all of those fuckheads would have to deal with each other.
The box? You're going to the box!
You're going on time out! You're being very naughty. Can't deal with this behavior. Once you change your behavior, then you can come back.
Once you fuck right off, you can fuck right back in. Oh my god, that's funny.
So that's where I got the idea from. It was a different reason, but same concept. You get me?
Do you think you would approach the app again, or are you still in the process? Like, where are you at with that app?
No. So like, nowhere with that.
Nowhere. Okay.
Because I am mainly visuals and interface design, and I don't know none about coding. And when I was in that project, I was with 2 other people who were like more interface design based. So we just like kind of made the like layouts and the look of the app, and it was kind of a nightmare, that class, because one of the participants was chronically kind of lazy.
Oh, yeah.
And wanted to use her age, because at the time I was 23 and she was 30, to validate her not giving a rat's ass. And it was very frustrating for me, because I would constantly just be like, okay, this looks like shit. It's a screenshot of this, like, you know those, like, paper doll models?
Yes.
Like, where it looks like it's, like, a paper doll. You can see the hinges and stuff. It was, like, that for, like, staging a introduction to the game. And I was like, we gotta draw over this or something. We should be using this as a starting point. This looks like shit, right? And she was like, you know, you're young. But it's not that necessary. You put the program in there, and, you know, you should have used it. And then I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. And then she was like, the other person was, like, not willing to fight her on it, which, you know, was in line with her personality. And so I was just like, whatever. And we turned it in, and we got a shitty grade on it. And they were like, the teacher was like, this looks like shit. You're supposed to do something else. At least take the watermark off, which is something I fucking said. And so I was just sitting there just like, I'm stuck with these people for the rest of the semester. The time has come.
Where are you going? What? Oh, Jesus. Oh my god. Jesus.
See? Oh, I still blew it out, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sorry, I tried.
I was like, where are you going? Don't take a shit right now, dude.
We're kind of in the middle of something, Goofy. No. If you hurt your ears at home, sorry. Hopefully you had some warning. Julius, you can put a warning in post, right?
Well, the thing is, now I'm just thinking, if you hear sirens later in this podcast, just know it is not artificial. It's real. It's not post. It's literally post. Jesus Christ. You're going to be listening to this and be like, what did he do to her? Oh my God. Yeah, please ignore this podcast.
As you can hear, I'm perfectly fine. I'm just really good at screaming bloody murder. I should be a horror movie darling.
You should. And let's move on from this from this story. I want to talk about your cousins.
Okay.
And how many you think you have versus how many you know you have.
Okay. Cool.
So how many do you think you have?
I have more than 100.
100.
On my dad's side.
Okay. Because
my father comes from a long line of hoes.
Right.
Male hoes. My grandfather, and like this is like a culture thing because like I'm West African. I'm not gonna tell you where I am because then you may be my cousin and you hear this and you think I'm talking shit about you, but I don't know you. I'm sorry. But I am from a part of West Africa, and it's gonna be pretty easy to figure out because of my name. And on my dad's side, and I don't know any of my the most people I know on my dad's side, or who I've actually met in person, are my dad and my brother. I haven't met any of my other siblings or any of my cousins. I talked on the phone once with one of my cousins, but it turns out she's not. This is part of the reason why it's confusing, okay? Because this cousin wasn't actually my blood relative cousin. She was like the man, like I think that she was the grandchild of my grandfather's second wife from another, but she wasn't my grandfather's grandchild.
Right.
So they just say cousin.
So do you ever see yourself, because it's kind of ambiguous, the number of family members you have in the world?
Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself getting in a like a Luke and Leia situation?
Oh, Jesus. I am constantly in fear of this. I would never date somebody Ivorian.
Out of where?
I would never.
Oregon? Okay. Did you say Oregon?
No. I said So, spoiler alert, I'm Ivorian.
Oh, okay.
So, my dad's Ivorian. He's from Côte d'Ivoire.
Right.
So, if I see a motherfucker speaking French, I'm running the other way. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If he's dark-skinned and speaks French, can't have it. Sorry.
Dude, just stay out of Canada. Like Montreal, Quebec, you know? Because,
like, the thing about it is, he don't even know how many nieces and nephews he has. And he doesn't know how many kids he has. My father.
Right.
He doesn't know how many kids he has. He doesn't know how many nieces and nephews he has. Every time I call him up, he's talking about a new sibling I have. And he acts like he already told me.
Have you kept like a list, like a number
chart? As I know, I have 2 younger sisters, and that's the one that's easy to keep track of. Because he ain't getting no bitches now.
No bitches?
No bitches? That's the benefit to him getting old. I only have 2 younger siblings.
Slow down production?
Yeah, thank God. Because this man has so many fucking kids.
Sorry, the factory shut down nowadays.
Yeah, no more little Konan babies. Thank fucking God. Okay, so I have my oldest siblings are twin sisters, and they look like dark-skinned models. And you look at my dad, who is shorter than me, and he's like, I'm a little round. I'm plump because my mom's side's plump and my dad's kind of plump. So I'm plump and I'm short.
You're can I correct you? Can I correct you?
Yeah, sure.
You're perfect.
Oh, thanks. I'm also plump. Anyway.
The big P's.
Okay. But like my oldest sisters, they are like a good foot taller than him and super skinny. And I was just like, how did that happen? That's fascinating. And then I have my older brother. I have 2 older brothers.
Right.
I think.
I see the fact that you end each sentence with "I think" is horrifying. It is actually horrifying that this happens. It's a little exciting for the podcast, but it's horrifying for your life.
Yeah.
Your life is actually a horror film.
Yeah. You know, I feel like they could get, like, just random sections of my life could, like, do lots of genres. I think I made a joke. You know, my life is like the beginning part of a rom-com when the protagonist's life is shitty, but the good part just isn't happening for me.
You're like, it's like Parasite, where it's like you don't know what the movie. It's like, oh, this is fun, you know, at the beginning, and then, oh my god.
Yeah, like you see my personality, and you're like, oh, she's so nice and happy, and then I tell you one detail about my life, and you're like, are you okay?
The thing is, you are the perfect, you're the perfect, like, wingman, you know, like, to hang out with, you know, like, because you have that you have that personality that attracts a lot of people, you know what I mean? And, you know, guys,
and
girls,
one
all
of
sorts
them
of
is going to want to fuck you at least.
Who? You or me? You definitely do.
You said that I'm a good wingman, right. So that's the reason why I said
you're
that.
Wingman to me, wingman to yourself as well. You help yourself. Come on. You're not completely charitable, man. You help yourself plenty. Come on.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I've seen plenty of instances where you had to give the fake number out. Okay, that's the kind of personality we're talking about.
Yeah. I also attract a lot of weirdos.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But it's very much like that, where, you know, we don't really know who anyone is 100% of the time. So when I really started to find this stuff out about you, it was like, it was shocking, but there was an element of like, oh yeah,
that tracks.
That does track. because of your personality, because you are very outgoing and very like, hey, come on in, you know, welcome to the party and everything.
One of us.
Yeah. And I see where you got, it's from your family. It's a character trait from your family.
There's always people around, and you never expect it when it starts. Just this past 4th of July, I went to my grandma's house thinking it was going to be immediate family. And this is something I was talking with my cousin about. I was like, it's funny. Our family, when we're talking about immediate family, we're talking about first cousins, aunts, uncles. We aren't talking about brothers and sisters, which is how most people use that term. But I got there, and my mom was, and the first clue was my mom was like, we're going to need more veggie burgers. I'm like, what? There's only 2 vegetarians in the immediate family. I was like, why do we need more veggie burgers? We don't know how many people are going to need it. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, we got to go. And so then I got to the party, and people just kept coming. Just showing up. Great aunts, great uncles, creepy grandpa friends, just everybody was there. And I was like,
I was there.
Yeah, you were. I was like, how the fuck did you hear about this? This is so weird. Did they just put out a bolo on every, like, public TV station, or did they do a YouTube ad campaign? What the fuck is going on?
I saw a flyer in a bus stop.
Yeah, I don't know why. And anyway, it was really bad because it's an ass-butt-fuck nowhere town, and in ass-butt-fuck nowhere town, people don't have good sense because they are Republicans and they don't have anything else to do. So there were fireworks going off everywhere, and I'm just like, please don't let any of these babies get hit with a stray firework. There was somebody who had a firework, like a big ass firework, on their lawn.
The jumbo one.
Like the the ones that they use in like the
shows.
The shows.
Yeah.
We
just have some here also. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was just sitting on the grass on somebody's lawn in front of their house. Their house was getting hit with red sparks, and I was just like.
So this wasn't in San Bernardino. Because they have a history of that.
It was.
Oh. So it was probably the same people. Because you remember a couple years ago when that whole the gender reveal party happened.
Yeah.
Those people, they started that big ass fire that you could from here.
Yeah.
You could smell it. You could smell the. For those who don't remember, in San Bernardino, I forgot what year it was. Was it 2020?
I think, yeah, it was 2020.
Okay.
It was when everybody was in quarantine and everybody was like, why the fuck?
That's right. Yeah, they had a gender reveal party for their baby coming. Where they were coming because it was gender reveal party.
Yeah,
right?
and it was like, surprise, it's a wildfire.
They had a firework cannon thing that burst blue dust or something like that. Caused a wildfire in California, and you could smell it. You could literally, and I was thinking, because I didn't hear about the party itself until later. I thought it was a result of climate change.
Yeah. No.
But no, it was just the people. And you were there at that time. Not at the party, but in that area.
In that area, yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I've lived in San Bernardino on and off, and oh my fucking god, it's just, they're just so stupid. I hate going out in San Bernardino because like peak pandemic, nobody was wearing masks.
Yeah.
Yeah. People were just going in the grocery store. I was like about to have an anxiety attack because my grandpa has a respiratory illness, and I was like there taking care of him, and nobody's wearing a fucking mask. Can't get him to wear a fucking mask. And it was just like...
Did he get COVID?
Yeah, he did.
Oh.
He got it, luckily... Ooh, I'm fucking all my makeup up or whatever. I don't care. And, you know, the thing is, like, he was, I was, like, real scared for him, but he had already gotten his vaccine. But he only got his vaccine because they had a friend die. And then they decided to get the vaccine. I was, like, begging for them to get a vaccine because they were eligible for it before me. And they
were resistant to the vaccine?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Power of Healing. A bunch of my cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, healing word of the Christ was going to protect them, even though people were going to one of my other cousins' churches, and almost all of them got COVID.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then the moment I got pissed was my baby brother went over to one of my aunt's house, and that was one of the cousins who went to the church where everybody was getting COVID, and they gave my baby brother COVID.
Come on, man.
And he's 4.
Oh, man, that's awful.
So he can't get, like, a vaccine and stuff, and that was the only time I was, like, actually pissed off about it, because it's like...
He's good now, though.
He's fine. But, you know, that was, like, really
It's no
stressful.
joke. It's no joke, man.
Yeah.
It's no joke.
Yeah, because, like, you know, there are people who are dying from it. And, you know, I just wish people would think about people other than themselves.
Of course, yeah.
You know? That's, like, the only issue I have with, like, how a lot of people are handling this virus, is just thinking that it's not a big deal. But if you're like immunocompromised, if you cannot get a vaccine, then it is a big deal.
Well, I don't think people really understand those aspects of the pandemic where there are people who are more vulnerable, just naturally more vulnerable, needed the vaccine for so long but couldn't get it because it was very quick. The way the timetable of it being developed, because those things take years to develop, so it was pretty quick, all things considered. But there's still a long stretch of time where your whole world is altered. You have to stay home. You can't talk to people. If you do, you're 6 feet apart and everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are pissed that there is no vaccine, but when there is one, they don't want to get it. Mad that they can't get masks for free, but don't wear them when they're available. It's a really contradictory time.
And I feel like, but like, I guess the thing is, like, once again, we're back to isolation. I think that part of the issue is we as a nation view ourselves very individualistically.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, people in the United States are not really concerned with people who are outside of their perspective, or they just don't think about it because they don't have to think about it. In other countries, that is not necessarily the culture. Like, this is just a random example for something completely different, but like, you know, those seats that are designated for people who are disabled
on like public transit, like in buses and trains. Yeah.
Okay, so in the United States, people will sit in those seats.
Right.
If it's empty, people will sit in those seats. But in countries like Korea, for instance, they have one for pregnant people, and they have one for disabled people, and then they have a set of seats for elderly people. And if you are not from the category that those seats are intended for, you don't sit down.
It's just like a cultural norm.
It's a cultural norm for those seats to remain empty until somebody who fits that category sits there. And
is that enforced by law, or is it just something people recognize?
It's something that people recognize, and even if the train is crowded, people won't sit there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So, like, in other cultures, there's a more, it's not necessarily only thinking about you. It's like, I see a seat and it's empty. I don't care if somebody else comes. It's not necessarily the mindset of people. It's like, you got to get what you can when you can, versus other cultures where they're trying to support everybody so that as a whole, the country will be better.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what happens when a country as big as this one is treated like a circus. Mm-hmm. You know, it's treated like a circus, you know, when it comes to either our debates, the way we vote, the way we're promoted to vote and everything. I mean, it's a capitalist society, so that's pushed for capital is pushed before the morality of situations.
Yeah,
even with the pandemic.
Yeah,
you know, because look, I remember a great example of what you're talking about is when the pandemic was really revving up, early 2020. Toilet paper, the toilet paper extravaganza, where everyone's fiending for it for some reason because they feel like they need to. They feel they need to race to whatever.
Buy a reusable
store.
Bidet, my dude.
I mean,
you can. There's so many other options.
Take a shower.
Speaking.
Why are you looking at me that way?
You did not just say that. You are so nasty. Speaking of bathrooms, I need to use it.
Okay, good. For those experiencing the break, enjoy while she does her business. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about some nerd stuff. Specifically, hopefully, the Black Panther 2 trailer. Back.
And we're back, folks.
And we're back. They're great.
They're great.
I teased the listeners that when you got back...
Naughty.
No, that's not the right podcast. I teased that we would, when you got back from taking care of your business, that we would talk a little bit about some nerd stuff.
Oh, fun.
Specifically, something you would probably be interested in, which we kind of established earlier in the podcast. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the trailer that came out.
Black Panther.
For Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
Here, come closer to the mic.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
I gotta hear what you think about this.
I have to preface this with I started to watch it and then I got too emotional and started crying. And then I turned it off and I haven't finished it. So we may have to give that a little pixie so I can actually
we can do that.
I heard that there is some Mesoamerican representation in there, which I think is really cool.
Oh yeah, so obviously Black Panther was a big hit when it came out. It was, I love the film. I rewatched it recently and I love it even more than I did beforehand.
I love that movie so much.
It's really good, man.
I still regularly listen to the soundtrack because I also am obsessed with Kendrick. So,
yeah, and
yes.
it was brilliant bringing Kendrick into that film. I mean, the music is impeccable.
Dude, the vibes are just immaculate, man.
Yeah, I play the soundtrack at work sometimes because you have the PA and everything, so I get to choose the music and everything.
Nice.
And I've played after the day after that trailer came out. I was like, okay, no,
today's a Kendrick
today
day.
is a Kendrick day.
Yeah. Have you heard his new album?
I've heard parts of it. I know there are aspects of it that are a little controversial, but I haven't heard all of it. I still have to. I heard a couple tracks, and it's great.
I love it so much.
It's great. He's Kendrick.
Yeah.
He's Kendrick. Come on.
You really can't go wrong with Kendrick in my book.
No.
But let's take a peek-see.
Let me show you the trailer for a quick second. And this will be edited to correspond.
Gotcha.
Oh,
yeah, see that song? They started with "No Woman, No Cry." I was like, "No, this woman gonna cry."
I am crying.
Sorry, you can't stop me.
Shit.
Don't stop it.
Honestly, it's a good thing I didn't watch the trailer because I've watched it a lot, and every time I watch, I get emotional also because I think it is without a doubt one of the greatest trailers ever put together.
I'm very excited for it. It's just, I'm gonna cry. I like cry.
Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. This phase of Marvel, for me, has been a little bit underwhelming. A few exceptions, like Spider-Man No Way Home, I thought was fantastic and everything. I really like some of the shows. Oh, yeah. Let's point. We're pointing at each other. We're pointing. Like, honestly, that's the rare exception and everything. But so far, the phase has kind of been a bit... I hate to use the word, but it's a little mid.
Yeah, it's a bit mid.
A little mid. But this trailer, this is the end of Phase 4. This looks fantastic.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it looks really good. I watched Miss Marvel and
I thought it was fun.
It was fun. It was cute, but it was what it was supposed to be. That's what I would say. But with a lack of good backbone and good stuff around it, it's like if that's your high point.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even consider that the high point of this phase.
I mean, I don't really. I'm just saying that it was one of the things where I thought it was like I actually pretty genuinely enjoyed the entire bit. I liked Moon Knight.
Yeah, I really liked Moon Knight, actually.
I really liked Moon Knight. Yeah. I liked Miss Marvel, and then I liked I watched the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
And I saw it in theaters, and I was like, I was so bored the entire movie, except for that one scene where they were fighting with the music, and I was like, ooh! Yeah. And then I was like,
Yeah, this trailer, this film, is obviously anticipated highly because... What do you do, right? After the passing of Chadwick Boseman, how do you even approach this film? And from what I understand, they really changed it up because they had to. You know, like they probably planned for a sequel starring him.
They didn't. Well, the thing is, they knew he was sick for the first one.
Right. Well, he got the diagnosis back in 2016 when the Civil War movie came out, and that was the first movie he appeared in. And he kept on going because he felt that he had that responsibility to keep going, which is commendable,
He was a awesome person, and people gave him so much shit. And, like, I feel like a lot of people... That's like a... I guess we keep on coming back to the otherization thing, where they don't think of people as people, they think of people as concepts. So anytime somebody leaves the concept of what that you had for them, then it's just like, oh,
yeah,
time to talk shit.
Or they think of people, especially people who are in the public eye or in films, as walking commodities.
Yeah,
like, hey, I'm the guy who's paying for your career, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I get to say whatever the fuck I want about, yeah, and you can say whatever you want, but I remember especially near the end of his life when he had a video of himself. He posted a video on Jackie Robinson Day because he played Jackie Robinson, and he was talking about the day, the holiday, and everything, and he looked very different. He looked visibly
emaciated.
Really, yeah. I had no idea what was going on, and I remember people were talking about him and everything. It was just like, this is kind of tasteless. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on, and then a couple months later,
yeah,
what happened.
Honestly, I thought he was preparing for a role, and I was just like, this isn't right. Actors like turn gaunt like this all the time because they're doing something for their craft. So you doing this shit is fucking rude.
Right.
Especially because you don't know what's going on.
And yeah, and even actors who do that, it takes a lot from their body. Like, it takes years off their life to do that. So I just assumed, like you, that he was doing that for a role. Mm-hmm. But then I find out colon cancer is fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. And there's the question of, how do you approach Black Panther in this do you recast? Do you...
I'm glad they didn't decide not to recast, because I feel like that would be in poor taste.
Me too. I think because a lot of people wanted a recast of the character, which I didn't, and I love that in this, the whole idea of this trailer is about honoring his memory. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, the character is dead and he's gone. Like, and I don't know how he went. I don't know if they're going to utilize what really happened to Chadwick Boseman in this film. Like, did T'Challa get cancer also and everything? I have a feeling, especially based off this trailer, that they're going to approach it in a very tasteful manner. Yeah. Because these are people who loved him and knew him,
Yeah. And I feel like the thing that comes through in that trailer, like, sure, there's, like, the stuff with the Mesoamerican culture and all of that, but what you can tell is at the core of the story is grief. Yeah. That line from Angela Bassett talking about I am the queen of a country, and everybody...
I've lost everything.
I've lost everyone. Yeah, oh, man. That's just fucking raw, my dude. Yeah. Like, I already... See, there are some times when Disney has a fucking chokehold on my neck. And I feel like this is going to be one of them. And last time, I wasn't expecting it. This time, I'm going to go into the theater with nothing on my face because Encanto got me. Mm-hmm. I was sobbing. And this, I just started tearing up from the trailer, so there's no fucking way. I don't even know if I want to go see it in person because I'm getting emotional.
It could honestly be, I predict this screening, especially if the movie is really good, I predict it being very cathartic for people. Yeah. Because it was it was sad what happened with Chadwick Boseman and everything, and I'm glad he wasn't recasted like a lot of people wanted, because a lot of people were arguing that it would be disrespectful to not continue the character. So, yeah, I don't think you're going to win either way. Because there are people who saw this trailer were mad that they didn't recast.
Yeah. The thing is, knowing Disney, the option of recasting wasn't probably going to happen. They were probably either going to remove him, period, or do that creepy...
the CGI thing?
CGI thing. No. And the CGI thing would have been just...
Yeah, it would have been in poor taste for sure, man.
Yeah, so I honestly am just glad that they went in the direction that they went. And he was, like, from my understanding of him and, like, the stuff that he said in the public eye, was a really good person. And I think that, this is one of the movies where I get behind why it was made. Mm-hmm. Sometimes some of these Marvel movies feel like a cash grab. Right. Like, the reason why they're telling this story it's because people like this character, or I guess I think a lot about, we were talking about this the other day with WandaVision. Right. Why a story is being told, and what does this story say in our context of our, society. And I think that that movie, the new Black Panther movie, it's talking about things from what I can tell about grief, and that's something that's like real and important to talk about. And I feel like a lot of people don't have a approachable way to go through the process of grief. Like it's like, since it's a sad topic, a lot of people shy away from it. Like the only movie I can think of off the top of my head is Big Fish.
Oh yeah, I love Big Fish.
Big Fish is like a great movie
I think it's his best, Tim Burton's best film.
Tim Burton. Yeah, because it talks about grief and talks about, I mean, personally for me, I can relate to it because my dad can't say a lick of the truth either. So, like, that process of grief and grieving is like but that one's very personal. Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do, but I get the feeling that it's going to be important. And also, it seems like there's an element of like the cyclical nature of life. And I think also one thing I really appreciated is that they didn't put the grievers in black.
In black?
Yeah. So that's a little detail that...
Oh, I see. That's right. Yeah. At the beginning, the funeral shots. Yeah. It's all in white. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Africa, West Africa, people wear white for mourning. They don't wear black for mourning. And certain little details like that are very important for representing a culture that is completely devoid of Western, mentalities. Because a lot of... another part of, from my understanding of West African mourning, is that it's more about appreciating the life that was lost and appreciating that person's life versus being sad and mourning the loss of that person.
Yeah, it's true. Their passing is treated as a celebration.
Yeah,
it's kind of similar to what New Orleans, they have like parades when a person dies and everything, and I feel like that's how the movie's going to open. And I think it's going to be really just heart-wrenching. It's like, I'm not... if that's the opening of the film, I don't know how I'm going to get through the rest of the film. You know what I mean?
I already know that I'm going to cry at least 5 times during this movie, and I've already accepted that about myself. I'm going to go into the movie with a tissue box, because
they should provide them, honestly.
Yeah, just have it in the seat next to you. Dude, I hate it when you don't come prepared for a movie that's sad. Like, sorry, I'm coming back to Encanto. Encanto made me fucking bawl, man, and everybody in the theater was bawling. And you don't go into a animated Disney movie. Okay, that's a lie.
That's an absolute lie.
Okay, you don't, like, I came for singing and dancing and Lin-Manuel Miranda. I did not come to sob my eyes out, But I should have expected it.
You were left with it. But the thing is, you mentioned grief. I think it's oddly enough been kind of prevalent within these past couple Marvel films. Like the Spider-Man one dealt with it. Yeah. Even though we kind of disagreed, Doctor Strange and WandaVision dealt with those elements. Yeah. And even Black Widow isn't necessarily about grief, but it's subtextual because the character died and this is a previous adventure of her. And now I think this is going to be the one to really cap it and really hit it the hardest because of the real life circumstances involving the film. And I hope eventually by the end of the film it becomes about healing, because this is not something anyone was prepared for, because no one knew until it happened. Yeah. And
Ooh, do you want to talk about our little tiff in terms of WandaVision?
We can briefly bring it up. I mean, I don't.
Or is it starting to get long?
Well, I mean, it's fine. Okay. I don't think it's necessarily that we disagree on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
just like the little aspects.
The little minutia. I said tiff as a way to say it shortly and not an overly complicated explanation that I'm so good at.
Please.
I always do the overcomplicated shit, and I was trying to be simple, but no, you just had to disagree with me on the word tiff. Anyway.
God damn it.
Jesus, Julius. I'm sorry, I had to do that alliteration. It was there, and we were already talking about Jesus. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, we can save the WandaVision talk for a later podcast.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Because this one has been going on for a bit.
Yeah, I was supposed to say, are you sure?
Yeah. But it was a good time, I think. Yeah. I had a good time talking with you. I always have a good time talking with you. Especially when it comes to the horrific aspects
of my life.
Of your life.
Yeah, as long as somebody's having a good time about it.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to listen to it at work.
Oh, no.
It's going to completely filter my day at work.
Lovely. As long as you don't play it on the speakers, because somebody who comes into that shop may actually know me.
That's actually a really great idea.
Oh, dear. Okay.
Tomorrow at work.
Yay! I love this idea, and I'm not at all asking for help from our dear listeners.
Honestly, I won't do it tomorrow. I will do it during the Halloween season.
Okay, cool.
That's fair, right?
Yeah.
That's fair enough, right?
Give the people some spooks.
Yeah.
Real world spooks.
It's spooktacular, as it were.
Yeah.
So, Ufway, I had a great time talking with you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for joining me and letting us know about you.
You're welcome.
And, I'll see you at the Black Panther screening, if not sooner.
Oh, yeah.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Anything
feeling good.
Anything lastly you want to yell at the people listening?
Wear protection for your dick and your mouth.
Mm-hmm. But not a retainer.
You can wear a retainer if your teeth are fucked up. I'm not going to judge you for wearing a retainer, but I am going to judge you if you're using it in a sexual context, because that seems weird.
Let's end this now.
Somebody don't want to be called out. Also, try to be nice and, have empathy.
And
to an extent.
And to an extent. And have a good one.
Yeah. Bye!
Bye-bye.